Did you spot the Nazi references in The Lion King? Or the 2001 homage in WALL-E? Bowie in Moana? These are just a few of the many things that only adults notice about cartoon villains. The Cartoon Network series The Powerpuff Girls might just be the cutest take ever on superheroes. Debuting in 1998, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup are kindergarten-aged children who protect their town as superpowered beings. The girls have a great rogues gallery filled with villains who are often just as brightly drawn and cute as the heroines, from Princess Morbucks to Mojo Jojo. But amidst all that cuteness lies a disturbing anomaly known as His Infernal Majesty, or simply him. This strange red creature has a soft, seductive voice, horn-like ears, a goatee, and thigh-high boots that look an awful lot like hooves. And his aim isn't world domination, it's to corrupt the Powerpuff Girls' innocent natures. In other words, he's Satan. Not exactly what you usually expect from a kid's cartoon. Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz is the main villain of Phineas and Ferb, which began airing in 2007. A classic mad scientist with improbable inventive skills, Doofenshmirtz's dearest wish is to conquer the tri-state area. Doofenshmirtz doesn't have a lot of friends or family, but he is deeply attached to his daughter Vanessa. He can often be seen worrying about her and saving her from trouble, and he even gives up being evil for her sake in the series finale. All of that makes Doofenshmirtz one of the top parents in cartoon history, despite being viewed as an evil villain. In fact, Doofenshmirtz is a far better parent than even Phineas and Ferb's parents. Every episode of the show has the boys engaging in an outrageous adventure, with no adult around to stop them from building roller coasters, messing with time travel, engineering giant robots, or traveling between dimensions. Seriously, the attitude of Phineas and Ferb's parents borders on the neglectful, especially when compared to the lengths that Doofenshmirtz goes to while trying to protect Vanessa. Disney fairy tales tend to stay away from lewdness, keeping in mind their very young audience. Most Disney villains are motivated by PG-13 impulses, like a desire for magical power or wealth. Not so with Judge Frollo, the main villain of 1996's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Frollo was all kinds of messed up. As the Minister of Justice, Frollo was highly disturbed by the unusual passions awakening in his bosom at the sight of the beautiful Esmeralda. In fact, Frollo sings an entire song, Hellfire, about how hot he is for Esmeralda, how his feelings are her fault, and how he will not rest until he gets with her whether she's into him or not. It's extremely disturbing watching a Disney character sing about his desire to assault the heroine. How this film got a G rating is a mystery to everyone. Sid Phillips from 1995's Toy Story managed to be a terrifying villain despite only being an 11-year-old kid. That was because Sid delighted in breaking apart toys and reconstructing them in grotesque, horrific ways. The obvious pleasure Sid takes in mutilating beautiful little toys would sound alarm bells for any psychiatrist, as well as Child Protective Services. Sid displays classic signs of a child who has suffered neglect and abuse. In the movie, we get a brief glimpse of Sid's father, asleep on a reclining chair. A deer head mounted on the wall shows that Mr. Phillips likes to inflict violence on others. The fact that he is asleep in the middle of the day shows he is likely jobless, and the many empty beer cans littering the room likely indicate an alcoholic who doesn't take care of his surroundings. All these hints, alongside Sid's fear of waking his father up, point towards the Phillips household being an unhappy one. How much of Sid's sadistic impulses are the result of his father may be debatable, but this much is clear. The kid is seeking an outlet for his anger by hurting toys. Disney often makes use of pop culture icons while creating their animated characters, a trend that included 2016's Moana via Tamatoa, a giant flamboyant crab that craves shiny, valuable objects. For older viewers, Tamatoa's look might evoke memories of iconic glam rock singer-songwriter David Bowie, and that is no accident. The look of Tamatoa was in fact based on Bowie, and the character's big musical number, Shiny, was written with Bowie in mind, as the film's songwriter Lin-Manuel Miranda told People in 2016. I'd been listening to Bowie on a loop. I was like, well, I'm writing a glam rock tune for this crab, this jewel-encrusted crab. To channel the spirit of Bowie further, Tamatoa was voiced by New Zealand's Jermaine Clement, who has been known to bust out a credible impression of Bowie in projects like Flight of the Conchords. Clement told the AU Review, "When I tried to record Shiny in the character's voice, Miranda just kept pushing the Bowie thing. Do it more Bowie. He wanted glam, like a T-Rex Bowie." Ursula from 1989's The Little Mermaid is as rollickingly entertaining as a Disney villain can get, which makes sense because she was based on a rollickingly entertaining drag queen. Rob Minkoff, animator for The Little Mermaid, revealed in the 2020 Disney Plus documentary Howard that he came up with a host of possible designs for Ursula's character, including one based on famed drag queen Divine, best known for playing Edna in 1988's Hairspray. When the film's lyricist Howard Ashman saw the drawings, the choice was clear.
And that design was put on a board with a bunch of other designs, and then the day that Howard Ashman came in to look at the designs, he zeroed in on that one.
Truly divine. 1994's The Lion King is generally agreed to be one of the greatest Disney movies of all time. Despite being a story about talking animals, the movie was grounded in mature themes as it took its cues from the biblical stories of Joseph and Moses, William Shakespeare's Hamlet, and also from the infamous Nazi propaganda films of Leni Riefenstahl. In the song Be Prepared, sung by the movie's main bad guy Scar, we see hyenas marching past the villainous lion in a highly regimented style. The movements of the hyenas and the view of their formations was based specifically on Nazi propaganda films by Riefenstahl. According to Entertainment Weekly, the idea for the song came from a sketch by story staffer Jürgen Klabin that pictured Scar as Hitler, which inspired the directors to craft the Be Prepared sequence, which became one of the most iconic parts of the film. Pixar is a studio that excels in telling stories filled with warmth and empathy. Stanley Kubrick was a filmmaker renowned for telling stories filled with tension, coldness, and dread. The two might not seem to have much of an overlap at first blush, but 2008's WALL-E brought the two together in an unexpected manner through the introduction of its main villain. In WALL-E, the central antagonist is a rogue AI called Otto that has control of a vessel carrying humanity into the furthest reaches of space. Otto's looks and personality are clearly based on the villainous HAL 9000 from Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. But the references don't end there. A scene from 2001 where an ape learns to use tools features the same music as the scene in WALL-E when the captain of Otto's space vessel finally leaves his chair to stand on his feet, learning self-reliance in the process after having depended on Otto for everything for so many years. 2005's Disney film Chicken Little was a heartfelt story about growing up, standing up for your beliefs, and learning to let your children become self-reliant. And it also paid homage to one of the most influential, terrifying sci-fi novels of all time, H.G. Wells' 1897 masterpiece, The War of the Worlds, which features aliens landing in terrifying tripods. Fortunately, the machines in Chicken Little were a lot more benign than the ones that showed up in The War of the Worlds. It is revealed in the final act of the movie that the aliens initially visited Earth just to gather acorns, and later returned with an entire armada because they thought one of their own was being held hostage by Earthlings. Once the misunderstanding is cleared up, the aliens return peacefully to their home planet. For multiple generations of children, the Tom and Jerry cartoons have been a popular retelling of the classic David vs. Goliath narrative. In this case, the big, dim-witted cat Tom is the evil Goliath, while the smaller, quick-witted Jerry is plucky little David who humbles the giant with his brains and willpower. But is the story really that simple? Once you grow up and need to look into buying or renting your own house, you begin to realize what a major problem house pests like mice can be, which is why house pets like cats are used to eliminate pests and keep the home safe. Once you start looking at the situation from that angle, you realize that Jerry was the villain of the show, an uninvited house pest that ran roughshod all over the house, eating and taking whatever he wanted. Meanwhile, Tom was simply the house pet trying to do what it had been trained to accomplish, keeping the home safe from unwanted rodents. Sure, Tom was always left frustrated after his encounters with Jerry, but just imagine how Tom's owners must have felt. So if you think Jerry is the good guy, all we can say is, don't you believe it? Adult innuendo in cartoons aimed at children is not a new thing, but sometimes the innuendo is so in your face you can't help but be surprised by the audacity of the show's writers. Case in point, Roxy Rocket's appearance in the new Batman Adventures, where she had a singular obsession with getting laid. In the episode The Ultimate Thrill, viewers are introduced to Roxy, a daredevil stunt woman who turned to a life of crime to satisfy her craving for excitement. In Roxy's mind, her reaction to danger is quite similar to arousal. Roxy's weapon of choice is a giant phallic rocket, and she soon becomes obsessed with Batman. Throughout the episode, Roxy makes one charged comment after another, telling Penguin about Batman, quote, "I was the best he ever had, and I love a man with staying power." But the most brazen scene comes at the end. When Roxy's last daring heist is stopped by Batman, she appears to be in the throes of ecstasy.
Me and you. Yeah. Yeah.
2010's Despicable Me had you rooting for the bad guy. Thelonious Gru was an aspiring supervillain who dreamed of pulling off the ultimate heist to prove himself. So he was forced to go to the Bank of Evil, an organization that offers loans to supervillains who can prove their schemes are sufficiently evil. However, the entrance to the bank is hidden behind a urinal. But the truly dastardly touch is that the entrance is behind the middle urinal. When you go to a public restroom, most people's instinct is to use the urinal to the left or the right because that minimizes the chance of having to pee standing next to someone. Only someone truly evil and twisted would willingly use the middle urinal, where he could be flanked on both sides by others. It is exactly that kind of dastardly mind that the Bank of Evil would be interested in doing business with. The evil queen from 1937's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs might just be the most iconic Disney villain of all time. She's often portrayed as the personification of evil, but adults might be more likely to diagnose her as suffering from narcissistic personality disorder. NPD, also referred to as megalomania, is a mental condition which has been officially recognized by the American Psychiatric Association. People suffering from NPD have an exaggerated sense of their own importance, as well as a deep need for excessive attention and admiration. This in turn leads to the sufferer having trouble maintaining relationships due to a lack of empathy for others. These symptoms fit the evil queen to a T. The tragic part is NPD is actually treatable, but the people who suffer from it have such a high opinion of themselves that they refuse to recognize they have a problem that requires therapy. The evil queen's time could have been put to much better use if she had stopped obsessing over Snow White so much and booked an appointment with the dwarf named Doc instead. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite villains are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.